Okay, so we get to dive deep into an imperative teaching when we're looking at rewiring our inner world and how we're showing up in our day-to-day lives, bringing us deeper into the understandings of how complex we are. And this is us focusing on the inner mother and the inner father out in the world right now, and it's such a beautiful thing, but we have a lot of emphasis on inner child work, which again is super important because essentially there's a lot of 0 to 11-year-olds out there in the world in big ass bodies who are still running because the subconscious mind runs 80 to 90% of our day-to-day lives, and that is the programming that was developed from the ages of 0 to 11. And so it's really important that we are beginning to nourish that little one who is having these experiences that have cultivated different programs and imprints and experiences that are still walking around as wounds. An important piece that we get to look at that's not as commonly discussed, but just as important, if not more important, not that we can really engage, it's all equally important and it's all interconnected. I digress. Is the inner mother and the inner father. When we were born into our bodies and we were little ones, we had our outer mother and our outer father. These humans who agreed on some level with you to be your birth portal into the world. And they became your exemplars of what it is for the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And so as that's all getting internalized as a child, there's a teaching that's happening just by them being of what the inner mother and inner father is. As many of us know, oftentimes how our parents showed up for us isn't fully what we actually needed. For some people, the traumas and the challenges and the things they experienced as a younger one are not as severe in shock value as some, but everybody has gone through traumas and challenges and things in their childhood. It comes with the human experience. It's cultivating the soul curriculum that we had to get to experience to then grow through for our own soul development and then to also be able to help others in the future. So as we look at the characteristics of what do we truly need from our mother and our father when we were a little one, or still to this day, what do we need? And then being able to, one, say today, okay, they're off the hook from having to give that to me anymore. There could be a shift within their own development, or as you continue to do your work, getting to see a shift in them. I've seen that. I've seen that in my own life in dramatic ways. But we get to let go of any expectations or wanting someone outside of us to have to change for us to bring peace and receive what it is that we need when it comes to parenting. Because when we were not receiving the love that we needed and the sort of care we need, child psychology, again, it's one of those like, wish it was different, but it's not. It is what it is. Child psychology, everything that's happening within their world, our world when you were a little one, gets internalized as it being your fault. It's very selfish psychology just because the world for us when we're little is still very small. Just understand that there's so many other complexities of this and that. So it's, it just is what it is. So when things were happening in the world, it's being internalized as it was our fault. So if you weren't receiving the love and the care and the things that you truly need, that gets internalized through your little body, your little mind, your big ass spirit. It gets internalized as there's something wrong with me. I'm not getting the love and the care, or I'm being treated poorly and they're being mean to me and I'm being abused and all these things. This is happening because I did something, which radically impacts self-love and self-esteem. So as we begin to take note of what is it that I needed, and there's a space for deeper work and more private session material to get to really come to resolve of those things, and us getting to go deeper into truth that that's not your fault. It was not your fault that your parents were not able to give you the things, or the things that happened in your childhood happened. It's not your fault. The little one is still processing that it's not their fault. And that's why where us showing up as our parents today gets to nourish and grow that inner child into this way. As we look at my inner mother, what is it that I really needed? And start to provide those qualities and traits to ourselves. We are pouring back into ourselves and saying, I see you. Hey, self, I see you. This is really what I can tell is needed. And I love you so much. And you so deserve this. And you deserve to feel good, because feeling good feels good. And beginning to pour that into self, the inner mother and the child can begin to form a healthier relationship. The same with our inner father. We begin to look at what qualities and traits did we not receive from the divine masculine within our lives that we truly needed. Maybe still feel you do need, and that's okay. And we begin to pour those qualities into self, creating this, and it can merge at the heart with the inner child and start to cultivate this infinity loop of bringing together the inner harmony and balance. And as we show up as our own mother and show up as our own father, the inner child can begin to truly blossom in their full expression, while also being healthily parented by the parents looking out for the best interest of that child in a way that they also want. What a blessing that we get to be the parent for ourselves that we always needed. And you know yourself so well, and you're connecting with that inner child so beautifully and more every day, that you know truly what you need from each of those parents and get to be that. A good parent doesn't let their child get every single thing that they ever want. There's also a balance. There's an accountability. It's teaching them discipline and structure and being able to move into those things. And there can be times where you're like, wow, I really needed my parent to be able to show me these things. Teach me how to be able to do this. I'll bring a personal example. My parents don't know health and nutrition at all. They're not about vegetables. We have to like beg my mother to drink water. They're just, they have no desire to learn it. Now, I have my own eating disorders and all sorts of things as I was younger that I got to heal through that contributed to it. But I was 250 pounds at one point. And it was through beginning to do this work of my awakening and realizing this doesn't work. And I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to feel good in my body. And I shifted mindset and I began to mother and father myself for me. I just finished my freshman year of college. And so I was away from my environment to realize that I don't have to live how they live, and that, there's a separation where I got to start to really awaken to, wait, I can take care of me and I can choose how to take care of me and point myself in a direction of where I want to go. And so I began researching and learning the things I wanted. These days, all it really takes is a Google search, some YouTube, and a little bit of time, and we can pretty much become efficient in anything that we want to learn. I also was bringing myself into more environments of people who were living the way that I wanted to live and doing the things. And I locked into my mindset of a non-negotiable, that this was what I was eating. It was a very regimented diet, and that I would work out every single day. Hindsight, I probably would have given myself a little bit more off days here and there, but I rode that until I was a fit, like bikini bod, like running 7 to 8 miles a day. And it set me up for the next wave of awakening of my healing. So when we come to the awareness of these are things that I truly need, and we get to look at what are wants and what are needs. And there's nothing wrong with having wants, and there's nothing wrong with fulfilling our wants. However, what's most important first is that we fulfill our needs. I always think of my teacher, Usha, from India, when this comes up, and I teach this in the Reiki Level 1 training. She said it was imperative to learn the difference between what are your wants and what are your needs. And very often, you will discover that's when you take the time to fulfill all of your needs. Your wants become very, very different. So often we can chase the things that we think we want because there's a void we're running from of what it is that we truly need. And so when we start to look at what is it that we need, and we shift our focus to fulfilling those things, that nourishes the root and the lower triangle. And it allows for the heart to flourish and open. And again, that doesn't mean you can't ever have a want. If you're like, oh, I'm still working on this need, but man, I really want that cupcake that just brings me so much joy. Eat the cupcake, enjoy the cupcake. It's not to limit ourselves, it's to get clear of how often are we chasing a hungry ghost rather than fulfilling the need that's truly there. And there's times where if we might notice a need, it might require learning new skills. It might require learning a whole new value system. It might require to learn many things that you don't know yet. And that's beautiful. Again, we live in the age of Aquarius. Information is at our fingertips. So I'd invite, start with basic search, YouTube, and reaching out to community who's riding the same wave and asking for recommendations of resources, or sharing with community or on social of like, hey, I'm really wanting to step into this next thing. I'd love recommendations. Or would anyone like to go on a journey with me to hold each other accountable to move through these things? Because it is our responsibility to get our needs fulfilled. No one else's. Self-sovereignty, that independence is so important while remembering that we're interdependent beings. So there's going to be some needs that require people. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help of others to support you in learning how to get your needs fulfilled. For example, if one of your needs is like-minded community, good need, right? Like-minded community, you literally need other people to be able to have that need fulfilled. However, it's your responsibility to put yourself into places where you could meet new friends and to be able to spark up conversation and be able to find that and have that need fulfilled. If you notice there's a space where you're like, wow, really needing that, do some research, ask your community, and make a plan. Allow that inner father, that healthy divine masculine, to support in creating a structure and an accountability of what that's going to look like. As humans, we must have some sort of roadmap and plan of where we're going for success. Guru Jagat used to say to us all the time, set yourself up for success. If you want to succeed, set yourself up for success. You know, I'm hearing her when I say that. It's rather simple. I was about to just like say it, but it felt almost like I don't want it to feel condescending. I just hear her She was very sharp to the point. I miss her dearly. But set ourselves up for success, including if there's, say, that inner child's been wreaking havoc and it's time to let a habit go and you want to supplement something different. Anytime you are you're creating a space, you're creating a void within your world. You're going to cut out, let's use cigarettes. I don't, because that's one that some people have, and it's a very common people quitting that as an addiction. There must be a plan of, okay, I'm cutting this thing out of my life. AKA, there's going to be a space. As humans will naturally fill the space. If there's a space, we fill it. Humans, vehicle. So we want to plan ahead of what is going to be put into that space. This is why creating your calendar and structure and a plan is so incredibly helpful for making sure you get all the things done. People ask me all the time, how do you do so many different things and how are you doing? And the answer is my calendar. It's, if there's a space, I know what I'm putting in the space, and I mark out spaces for there to just be, do whatever the fuck you want. And I have permission to change the structure and the flow as I please. But there's a roadmap and a plan. So we want to set up for success. Because if you lived in a dynamic where you weren't getting your needs fulfilled by your mother and your father, and perhaps you learned, because everyone is a teacher in our lives, every single person. They're always either teaching us something of, wow, I want to be more like that, or they're teaching us what we do not want and what we do not want to be like. But everyone's a teacher and everybody serves. So if your parents were more of a teacher of what you do not want, then we have a tendency to try to compensate for that and show up on the other side. We either repeat a pattern or we tend to radically shift to the other side as humans. Let me say it again. People tend to either just continue a pattern of what they've observed in their lives, or they tend to radically shift to the other side. What we're blessed to see in this generation of so much of this transformational work coming to light, many are being able to now take the third option of transform it and put it down, and us breaking the generational curses. So congratulations for being selected by your ancestors and by the guardians of light to be the one to help to break the ancestral pattern. Good job. So as we're looking at where have I been overcompensating for what it is I know I don't want, and starting to ask, what is the balance? How can we show up in a way that's allowing that sweet spot, knowing that don't want to go here, but the radical shift is also not going to serve. The pendulum method is a part of radical change. We're seeing it in the collective and a bunch of different things, but in time, the pendulum needs to come to the middle. We want that, the woo way, the middle way. Okay. Because as we're looking at all this work, and things are probably already coming up of just listening to this or been starting to journal some of this out and letting it come up, we can start to look at it and we can start to see ties to how, if the inner mother and inner father are not in good relations, they're in cahoots with one another, or their inner child still not feeling that their needs are being met, then it's very hard for them to all work together and show up responsibly, able to respondability, the ability to respond, to be able to show up responsibly, and to be able to learn how to show up in this balance of knowing the discipline and the nurturing and the play, and being able to do this dance of, okay, I'm loved, I'm taken care of, I can trust, and allow the root chakra, foundation, belonging, family, money, self. It's all root chakra. As we can bring the harmony to this beast, so we can begin to root it down and feel rooted and safe and allow ourselves to relax deeper into of being held and being able to take the steps to build the foundation in a space of harmony, cultivating. Now that this team is together, you can welcome money into the home and it's a happy home. And money's like, oh, this is a vibe. And that's not to say that money won't come hang out with a household that's in cahoots. Plenty of people we have seen, you can be like, they're a shit show. Why do they have so much money? They've understood the energetics and the teachings of money as a consciousness. And they don't have the issues of perception around money and the self-love and the confidence in that way. But I'm sure there's something somewhere we can look at. That's why there's so many people who are millionaires and billionaires who are so unhappy, because they were able to breeze through that. They have a healthy relationship with the conscious that is money. But there's other parts within themselves and of the team that there's not harmony, and they're miserable. There's other people I know who are crazy wealthy and are extremely happy, and some of the most beautiful people that I know, and I'm so grateful to call them good friends. It begins with us getting clear of, what do I need? And observing, what did I not receive that I can begin to give myself? And how can I show up as an amazing mother to my being? How can I show up as an amazing father to my being? And how can I make sure my little one feels seen and heard and catered to and loved so deeply, which also means discipline, which also means tough love at times. Self-love isn't only letting ourselves have whatever it is that we want. And it's not all bubble baths and massages, which are great. I'm here for that. Please, 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 please. It's also us getting gritty and looking at the things and saying, I'm willing to go into the places that have been really challenging to look at and are confronting in many ways, to start to see who needs to be brought into harmony and what can I shift within myself. So there can be a deeper sense of true self-care, receiving the care that we need, and then those needs being fulfilled. There's less chasing of the wants that can bring us into patterns that don't serve. And those needs being fulfilled allows us to show up more into spaces feeling that sense of wholeness that's already here. It's just a remembering that allows for that space of, I'm clear of what it is I want to learn, and I have the confidence that I can learn anything. And so I'll take the steps, masculine, take the steps to go learn what it is that I need to learn, because I love myself so much that I'm willing to go learn what I need to learn. And that's the beauty of the Aquarian age, where we're blessed to not be living like, little, was it like living on the prairie or whatever it is, where like they're beat. What they learned from everyone who's around them, that's what they learned. We can learn anything now. And we get to do this of getting clear of what are our wants, what are our needs. What is the relationship with the inner mother, inner father that's currently playing right now? How much of a parallel are you showing up and treating yourself the way that you were treated in childhood, because they showed you the exemplar of what it's to be? We get the opportunity to flip the script now and say, no, this is actually what I needed, and this is what I'm going to start to give myself now. And as a result, we're going to be able to show up differently in our beingness, which allows us to move forward with more confidence and fulfilling our needs, which is going to increase the radiance and the magnetism of your being and the esteem to know that you are badass. and that anything that you need, you can learn, you can acquire, and things will just flow to you because we have the belief and the knowingness. I am whole, I'm complete, I can figure anything out.